Hello there, folks. I thought I would squeeze in a vinyl and CD update in the middle of all showing of my pop rock vinyl collection that I've been starting in my previous video. But a grey winter day today, so let's show some new stuff in the middle of the old stuff that I've been showing now. So has been a so-so period now again after the record fair, but I got some okay stuff. So let's start with the vinyl singles. Cyan, and this was once again a couple of vinyl singles I got for free when my record store decided to get rid of their old dollar stuff. So Cyan was a blind buy or blind take. Turned out that they are a British band living and making music in Italy, and they are more close to middle of the road and less Humphreys or stuff like that. I wasn't that impressed by this one, so this will most likely not stay in the collection. Too dull, in my opinion. This one will stay in the collection, as it is a great one. Jim Reeves, Distant Drums, and My Juanita. I don't buy that much Jim Reeves, but he has a fantastic voice. I like the mood in his songs. So if I find some cheaper one, definitely, why not? Sybil, British dance house, Don't Make Me Over. Hit it in its time. And a really great one, Atlanta Rhythm Section, Spooky and It's Only Music, from 1979. But for once I can show some 78, and we have some Artie Shaw, Donkey Serenade, from a movie called The Firefly, and from another movie, Flying Down to Rio, comes Carioca. We have some small band swing, Benny Carter Quintet, Street Scene, and Pick Yourself Up. Jerry Mulligan, Making Whoopee, one of his most classic songs. It's nice to have it on 78 also. Jerry Mulligan Quartet, and Motel. And the most recent one, Harry James Orchestra and Blacksmith Blues and Baby Blues. So, CDs, starting with some Swedish, actually, Swedish Soul. This is Steven Simmons, who had a very short successful career. He had one big hit in '97 called Tears Never Dry, a real touching and sad ballad that was really great. And this is Swedish very intimate soul, and I felt like, why not? Definitely will give this a chance, as the single was so great. Miles Davis, Volume 2, and this is the title sounds like a compilation, but it's not. This is a release originally from 1953, containing Miles Davis, J.J. Johnson, Jimmy Heath, Gil Coggins, Percy Heath, and Art Blakey. And we have some genuine bebop. a Blue Note release. This is Swedish modern dance music for once. Trance music with Facio. Just One More Day from 2001. Don't find all that much of this, but I think it's very relaxing listening to the atmospheric and spacey sounds of this. Sting, or should I say Sting and or Police, but the Sting with both Sting and Police songs. All this time, this is a live album, recorded live with all new arrangements. And as I'm no huge fan of the Police songs, I got curious of new arrangements of these old, very overplayed songs, Roxanne and Every Breath You Take and so on, Don't Stand So Close to Me. So very interesting to listen to how he managed to do something new with it. And of course it also contains some great classic Sting stuff. If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free, When We Dance, Fragile, and so on. Fields of Gold, Moon Over Bourbon Street, and so on. So live Sting, never wrong. We have George Benson and Breathin', a CD version of a 1976 album. And the quick peek says that this sounds really funky, really smooth and really great. So I'm looking forward to listen to the full album of this. But George Benson's more funkier stuff is always welcome in my home. We have some Morrissey. And this is Ringleader of the Tormentors. This is, from what it says, limited edition. Containing poster and bonus DVD. And it is a nice release, definitely. Even though I might think that those bonus stuff may be a little bit vague. The poster is more or less a mini version of the cover sleeve. And the DVD contains a video of the single You Have Killed Me and 2 exclusive behind the scene videos. Sounds maybe little. But it's really fun still though to have found this nice release. So very interesting. Though the bonus stuff could have been a little more exclusive maybe. U2, the Joshua 3. I have this one previously as a cassette copy. Now I wanted it on a full album, and now I have it on CD. A classic, a real 80s classic, no doubt about it. Going in more to jazz again, we have 2 volumes of real early jazz. Early jazz with a man that I've shown before. I have found a whole lot of with this year. King Oliver. This is a kind of compilation from JSP. And it contains recordings from 29 to 30. So as I'm starting to listen more to these earliest jazz recordings, this was very nice finding. Roy Eldridge, French Cooking. This is a part of a series that been released by Vogue called American Jazz in Paris. And part 1 is called Nuts, and I hope to find it one day because this part 2, French Cooking, is really great. I only one thing to complain. I listened to this one. I only have one thing to complain about it. That is that the first sets is naturally Roy Eldridge has the show. The other ones are pretty much unknown French musicians. But I think that maybe I would have loved to hear a whole lot more of those that are behind the trombone player and the saxophonist, Benny Vasseur and Albert Ferreri. They are very much in the background players here, and I would love to hear them a bit more. But musically, this is really, really great. Really, you can hear that Elvis has real energy and a real fun time playing. And it lifts up a whole lot more. In a later section here, we have Don Byas playing, and he has, of course, a little more solos because he is a bigger name. And we also have a section where Elvis plays piano solo. Not often you hear that, and I understand why. He's not the best piano player, but it's very fun to have recordings with him playing piano solo, even though he is way behind those ordinary piano players. We have the Swingle Singers, a vocal group that I don't have anything with. But it is also featuring the Modern Jazz Quartet and its recordings from 1966. So it will be very, very interesting. I listened to some quick peeks, and there are really interesting arrangements of old classic stuff. Air, you have more Bach stuff, you have Chopin stuff that I have made really nice and interesting arrangements of it. It will be very, very interesting to listen to, with the Swingle Singers humming in the background. I hope they also do some more genuine singing, not just humming, but it will be very, very interesting. And with that, we leave the CDs and go to full-length vinyl, sticking with the jazz. The Duke Ellington small bands. Been a lot of Duke Ellington small bands this year, and it continues. This is Intimacy of the Blues. Real interesting album with Ellington with an octet. Different, but the first side we have Ellington and some of his many Ellington men from his band, Cat Anderson, Lawrence Brown, John Hodges, and so on, Harry Carney. Recordings are from 1967 and 70. The second part is a little less with Ellington names, but Wild Bill Davis on organ, so it's organ jazz also. So this is a very interesting and very, very great Ellington small band album. It's interesting how when I was younger, my favorite Ellington CD was a CD where he played more or less solo or with duo or with trio, because there were for once unusual Ellington stuff among those greatest hits that I always saw with Set in Doll and Take the A Train and so on. And now all of a sudden there are small band records everywhere. Because here we have another one. Duke's Big Four. This is a quartet release from recorded in 1973, released 1 year later, 74. And 74 was the year when Duke Ellington passed away. So this is his second last studio album. We have some familiar Oscar Peterson names here, like Joe Pass, Ray Brown, and Louis Bellson. Quick Peek says this is not a man that sounds like he has 1 year left to live. It's placed with amazing energy, the Quick Peeks I've heard, so it's going to be very, very interesting to listen to this Pablo release. Pablo is a label that I'm going to cut down a bit on, not because I starting to dislike it, and there are some great releases. I applaud Pablo and Norman Granz for doing a label where he gives the old classic musicians a place where they can jam on and release records on, in the middle of a time, 60s and the 70s, where they didn't have that much work among rock and roll and modern jazz and so on. But in many cases also there are musicians that are very old and they doesn't have the same energy as they used to, and it sounds in many cases a little stale. This is not the case with Duke's Big Four from what I have heard. So this one I will most likely guess that it will remain in the collection. But there are other examples for musicians on released on Pablos that sounds a little bit older, and you can hear that they aren't the same as they used to be. We're leaving jazz for a while and goes into soul. This is Gwen Guthrie, a name that I had a couple of albums since before. I wasn't that pleased with it then, but here I listened to it before I bought it on YouTube, and it sounded really good. It's produced by Deodato, the Brazilian soul funk musician, and sounds really great 80s soul music. So this will be very, very interesting. Sounds like among the best I've heard with Gwen Guthrie so far. Margie Joseph, who is that, you might ask? Hear the words, feel the feeling. And Margie Joseph is a today very forgotten name. This was also half blind by, but I saw it was produced by Ray Parker Jr. and it was containing Ray Parker Jr. and Lee Ritenour on as musicians, and that is always a good thing. And produced by Lamont Dozier, Motown fave. So this will be very, very interesting. And Quick Pick says it sounds really, really great. And then, guess who? Guess who? The Guess Who. And I've heard some stuff with Guess Who that was not my style. So before I bought this, I also gave it a quick listening on the YouTube to hear what I went into. But it sounded really, really good, this Flavors album from 1973, I think it is. 74, sorry, 74. It contains a song I heard before, Dancing Fool. But it's very, very nice, steady sing-a-song rock style that I actually do like. So it will it be more Guess Who in my collection? I don't know. Guess who? This is ADC Band, Renaissance, and ADC Band is a lesser known soul funk band. This is an album from 1980. So, and that is a great year in soul music, as I said before. So it'll be very interesting. A lot of my favorite soul albums came out in 1980. Also another album I listened to a little before I bought it that I was really unsure of. Billy Joe Thomas and a self-titled album from 1972. 1972. And B.J. Thomas is of course the one with raindrops keep falling on my head. Went several musical ways after that. And this is more of singer-songwriter style. Think Carole King style, maybe. And speaking of, Carole King has done and plays on a song here, as is Stevie Wonder, who also composed a song here and plays harmonica. So both Carole King and Stevie Wonder is reasons to buy this one. This sounds very, very interesting. Aretha Franklin, La Diva. This is a very forgotten and at this time not that popular Aretha Franklin album. It is more or less Aretha Franklin Goes Disco. and Van McCoy is very much behind this. And at the time, people were saying that this is not really Aretha Franklin, but to have Sulima being here, and Sulima is really, really great. And I wanted to, I got curious of it still, so I took a chance on it. Rebel Heels. Who are Rebel Heels, you might ask? And this is a blind buy. I never heard of this band, but it's produced by Rupert Hine. And then it always catches my curiosity. And Quick Peak says that this sounds really, really great. Really, really interesting music. In the pop rock genre. This is from 1988. So. More soul. We have Ron Banks and the Dramatics. The Dramatic Jackpot from 1975. Some real genuine soul disco from the 70s that I like very, very much. So this is going to be very, very interesting to listen to. And finally, a couple of jazz albums. This is Jazz, the 50th Volume 1. These are this is a compilation with recordings from the label Pacific Jazz. Today, very much forgotten jazz label. So we have here Chet Baker, we have Shorty Rogers, we have Clifford Brown, we have Bud Shank, we have a whole lot of different great names. Jerry Mulligan. So it's going to be very, very nice. And a Benny Goodman. As if I didn't have enough Benny Goodman. But when you find these, this is Benny Goodman Jubilee. January 1948. Jubilee was a radio show that was played for the American soldiers. And this is also interesting because this is Benny Goodman quintet, not orchestra, quintet, and with Kay Starr as vocalist. So this is very, very interesting, live with a quintet and with vocal. So it's a little different Benny Goodman than I found previously. So those were my findings this period. So let's see how the end of the year will turn out. So I will do, of course, my continuing of my showing on my collection on pop rock vinyl 80s and early 90s, and we take it from there. So let's see what happens then. So until next time, have really nice time no matter where you are, and no matter what you do. Take care and so long.